I'm Bridgette Readel. I'm Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, as well as Meteorologist Extraordinaire. Yep, that's back.
There you go.
Justin
I was
Storm.
missing that.
I knew you were feeling a little left out, so I'm glad we could bring
My,
this
my
back. Dean
ego
just
was
gave you the look
shrinking.
like, whatever. Dean could care less. I like that look. It is good to have the gang back together, and we have an addition today, and that is a gentleman on the phone from Drayton, North Dakota. It is Vernon Hoselton. Vern has a unique enterprise going on at his ranch. He's got reindeer. Vern, hello. Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus.
Hello. Good to be with you guys.
Well, we're glad you're here, and we've got a lot of interesting questions. And I'm going to start out by just saying, how does one start ranching reindeer in the northern end of the Red River Valley?
Well, I know many years ago I raised buffalo for 10 years, and I didn't have enough area for them to go in. My wife asked me what she wanted to go into next, and reindeer came out of my mouth, and she spent the next 5 years investigating things and getting things ready so we could get into them.
And Vern, how many caribou or deer, reindeer do you have?
I have 10 right now, and I got 5 pregnant cows.
Ah.
Now, how are they to raise? Are they easier than other livestock, or is it a little more difficult?
They're awful close, about the same. You know, you still got to watch them on diseases and all this other stuff, but the only difference is being the reindeer, and I show them, I have to be licensed by USDA. The state is unlicensed by the state, so I got both them watching me on all mine, and a lot more paperwork than a lot of the other animals are.
So why do you have to be licensed to have caribou?
Because they are considered exotic or whatever, and they're not domesticated animal.
I see. So is this something that you can continue to do year round, or do you need to ship the caribou somewhere in the summer because they get too hot?
No, they stay right here year round. I run fans on them in the summertime to try to keep them cool enough and flies and stuff off them.
Right. And for some people, you know, we don't see caribou around too often out here. How big is a caribou? How does it compare to, say, like a deer or something?
They're getting close to them. I know some of them are going to be a little taller depending on their genetics. I know they are. I got one steer out here that when I bought him, I think he weighed 450 pounds, so he's a good size animal.
Oh, that is a big one. How big can they get? I mean, is that kind of up on the upper limit, you know, 400 or 500 pounds, or can they get heavier than that?
I
Still
think
being healthy.
yeah, there might be some of them get a little healthier. I do know that like say the farther north that the animals are, the smaller they are, and as farther south they are, the bigger they are. So there is a difference in everybody, and even like you're talking caribou, that's North American reindeer basically, but the reindeer like I have came from Russia many years ago. And there is about a month difference in when they calve. So there's many difference in the genetics of them throughout.
I see.
So when do they calve, Vern? When you said there's a slightly different schedule? Is this a normal springtime calving? Is it more of a fall? When does that happen?
It's more of a normal springtime in April, May. I might wind up one to come up in late March, but it's all in that same general area at that time wise.
Okay. And do you ear tag them? Do you vaccinate like you would with beef animals? I mean, how do you handle that from the time that calf is born? Anything additional that you do for them?
Not really. We just kind of watch them, take care of them, and we don't do that much for vaccination around here.
Uh-huh.
I did in the past, when I first got them in, I did some of them, but it didn't seem to make much difference on them, so I just let them be all natural and let them, take care of themselves as much as they can unless they do come down with something.
So you said that these caribou came from Russia. Are they a direct import? Did you have someone within the United States that you worked with in order to bring them to your farm? How did that happen?
Well, the import happened roughly about 1887 with the U.S. government and missionaries brought them into Alaska because the caribou were getting a little scarce at that particular time. So they brought reindeer in so the Inuits could have an animal that they could raise themselves rather than be out in the wild.
Okay. There are, I'm sorry, my mind is just going with all sorts of questions. So diet, do you treat these much like you would with a beef or a dairy animal? Does their diet differ a whole lot versus other livestock?
They do differ a little bit. I have a special feed that I do give them that is conformed just for reindeer, and then I feed them the sugar beet pulp, and in the wintertime I give them alfalfa.
So they have a sweet tooth. They like sugar beet pulp. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, that's just like candy to them.
Well, it kind of is to me too. So I guess I'm on the same line as your caribou. So for those who are listening, if you have questions for Vern, you are welcome to call us at 701-293-9000 because I know Dean and Justin and I are going to ask a lot of questions, but what's something that might be on your mind? Well, you call us and share that. And that leads to, Vern, what's the most common question you get about your caribou?
There's so many of them come out about saying, used to say when they first come in there that these are Rudolph's cousins. So I kind of help the kids along a little bit.
I like that she used that.
Right. And Vern, do you bring do you have tours of your facility for the kids, or do you bring the reindeer like to local events during the holidays for the kids?
We do a lot of local events throughout the Christmas holiday. We do once in a while. If somebody wants to come out, we'll let a school come out or something to enjoy them. I know we've had a nursing home that isn't too far away from us, and like I say, the youngest I had out was 105.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's awesome.
And do they shed their rack every year like deer, or is it pretty similar?
Antlers or horns?
The rack.
They're antlers.
Yeah.
They're antlers because they're solid, and they do shed them every year. The males, which I'm waiting for mine to shed theirs pretty quick here. They usually got them shed by now, but they're getting a little lazy this year. And the females, they'll shed theirs depending if they're pregnant enough. If they're pregnant, they'll shed about the same time the males will. If not, they'll hold them till either just before calving or just after calving.
And how many other people around the area are doing the same thing with caribou and reindeer? Are there other folks around here that have caribou farms?
In North Dakota, no, I'm the only one in North Dakota. There are some down by the cities, Minnesota, and throughout the nation. There's quite a few of them that are raising them.
Interesting. So how far out have people reached out to you, say they want to use your reindeer, or they want to ask if you can bring them to some event? What's the widest range that you've had people reaching out to you?
Just this season, we've been in out the Williston area a couple times, Minot. We had one in Bismarck, but the weather had to cancel that one. And we do quite a few locally around here, and then we have one down in South Dakota we go to.
Cool. Interesting.
And we have a caller on the line who wants to visit with our guest. Our guest is Vernon Hoselton. Vern raises reindeer, also known as caribou, up by Drayton, North Dakota, at the northern end of the Red River Valley. And Mike, on line one, go ahead with your question for us, please.
I was just wondering if you have a source of income to help you defray your expenses from these animals, or is it just purely a hobby for you? Do they
I
sell
do work
antlers, for instance?
Yeah, I do sell some of the antlers and stuff throughout, and I do work full time besides, but it's more of kind of a hobby that's trying to get into more of a business area of things. I know it for the price of the animals now, you got to think twice about what you're going to do on things.
Uh-huh.
Is it are they a source of meat, or is it just strictly other types of products?
They are one of the most universal animals. They're the biggest export in Alaska has been reindeer meat for quite a few years. You can ride them, pack animal, milk them, like you say. One drop of reindeer milk will turn black coffee white. I mean, I get my brain going straight here.
Wow.
Yeah, they are. You know, whatever you need to do with them, you can usually do with it.
Well, that's very interesting. I appreciate your information.
Yeah, thanks for calling there, Mike.
Yeah, goodbye.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. That one drop of caribou milk will turn a cup of black coffee white? Really?
That's awesome.
What I read
And now
one time.
Wow.
Now it explains Caribou Coffee's name, doesn't it?
Oh, man.
There you go.
I get it now.
And Vern, I mean, you touched on, or the last caller, that was one of the questions we had as well, as when it comes time to retire the animals, do you, I mean, are they, for better words, used for meat, or do you sell them once they get to a certain age?
I've never totally retired one yet. They just kind of, when they get certain age, whether they pass away for whatever reason, that I use them for shows as long as I can.
Okay. What's the lifespan on a caribou? How long do these things usually live for?
They say, like in the wild, they were about 10 years old. Mm-hmm. But I know I've had some guys talking about them. I think we've had one that was about 13 or more. And, you know, if everything you take care of them like you would yourself and everything, they're going to last a little longer for you.
So, Vern, when you said like taking care of them, do you feed specifically any minerals or supplements to help with their antler growth? Because it sounds like that's a source of income, or that's a desirable item off the caribou, is maybe raising those bigger racks. And is that something you can actually do through diet?
Yes, to some aspect. I know whatever I've used, I've always had some pretty good sized racks on them. And I know the reindeer is one that the craftspeople love because they are easiest to work with.
Wow. Okay. And so just so many other things here. Now, you mentioned earlier that you've got pregnant cows, so that tells me you obviously have a bull somewhere too, or where you might be getting genetics for the breeding.
Yeah, I got two bulls. I got two separate pastures going. I started that last year, and I got another bull, so I wasn't buying a separate bull every other year. So this way I can continue my growth without having to put out the extra money to try to locate a male that is going to do what I want to.
Where do you find a male? Is there some sort of North American reindeer dating service? Is there somebody raising caribou in the U.S. someplace, or how are you finding other producers?
There are quite a few other producers around. I know I've been dealing last few years with a guy out in Washington State, and I know the male, that steer that I bought, he came from Indianapolis. So there are some around the area, but right now they weren't breeding so much. So the price of them gone completely ridiculous on things, but
okay,
just like everything else, right?
Yeah.
Are they friendly? As someone who grew up with beef and dairy animals, we'd occasionally have a critter that wasn't exactly so nice. What are caribou like? What's their misdemeanor? Or their demeanor? Sorry, not a misdemeanor, but their
Maybe
demeanors.
They're getting misdemeanors.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, For the most part, they're not too bad on things, except for the male that goes into rut.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had one male that I could walk out to pasture and I'd get one eye on me, no problem. I've had the other extreme where my wife walked out of the door of the house and he was right at the fence ready to come at her. So it all depends on how their genetics are and everything. And over the years, I've learned, like the one that was real nasty in rut, I can calm him down a little bit with some depot and stuff and he'll still be able to breed. So there's a lot of information that comes out through the years that we've picked up.
I see. And what about with the, the moms and the calves? How are they? Because as Bridgette has mentioned before, with beef cattle, you don't get between mama and her baby, but with dairy cattle, it's a little different, and usually they just don't even bat an eye when you take it away, as Derek was mentioning to us, one of our guests the other day. How do the caribou do with babies? Do you have to separate them at all, or do you just let them stick around?
I have just let them stick around, and we're starting to pull them off mama about 3 months so we can work with them a little bit. I know my wife has done real well over the years of getting them tamed down and used to it so they're not so difficult to get halter broke and everything.
Okay, you said halter broke, so that brings up a good point. And I've heard you mention through our discussion today that you use these as show animals. Are you talking about like petting zoos or a competition where you're taking them through a show ring? Exactly, walk us through what you're doing with them there.
No, we just take them out through the Christmas season and set them up, and could be inside a mall or outside wherever they want us, just so that people can actually see what the reindeer looks like.
That's awesome. And do you ever have concerns, like do you need vet papers to cross the state lines when you go down to South Dakota or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I get all that stuff taken care of and everything. So being we travel through different states and everything else, yeah, we got to have a lot of paperwork done to keep everything going.
So what did your local vet say when you told him you're moving from Buffalo and bringing in some caribou?
She didn't say too much because she's my sister.
Oh, that's even better, Vern. I really like that. There's no arguments at Christmas. Vern's just getting the caribou.
Yeah.
Okay, I got this.
I was wondering, because you had mentioned that there's no one else that kind of do caribou in North Dakota, and I have no idea if caribou are even around our area or not. I know we get elk occasionally coming down through here, but where are caribou native to, or where do you usually find them in the wild?
The caribou themselves are going to be up in Alaska and northern Canada and all that area up there. And then, like you say, the reindeer, which has a little different genetics than the caribou has, they're all up in like the Lapland area and all that toward northern Europe.
Vern, you use your animals, your caribou, mostly for show, but do you know some other producers who use them as almost a work animal? Like you said, they can be used as pack animals, maybe in hunting expeditions. Are you familiar with anyone using in that purpose as well?
I know there are quite a few of them that use them in the Christmas season to pull a sleigh, and I know it's one thing I've always wanted to do, but we should be training them into pulling the sleigh. That's in the farming area. When I was farming and stuff here, was the busiest time of my year. So as things are hopefully going to slow down one of these days for me in that aspect, we can possibly get them trained to pull the sleigh and everything so we can do more shows in that aspect.
That would be fun.
This might be my last big question, but I know that some antlered animals go through a velvet stage, but not all. Do caribou go through the velvet stage?
Yeah, caribou go through a velvet stage. As they were growing, they have the velvet on them, which if you see the antler when velvet is off, you can see a line inside the antler a little bit there, and that's where the blood vessel was. That carries the nutrition it needs for the antlers to grow. When they are in full velvet, you can hold on to their antler and you can feel their pulse.
Oh, really?
Wow.
That'd be
Wow.
kind of goofy or
Right.
kind of freaky. And for some of those out there, the velvet stage, they may not understand what that is. That's the when the antlers have you call it the fur on it, right, or the hairs.
Yeah, it's got it's got skin with fur on it that protects the antlers as growing in its soft stage.
I see. That's interesting. I had no idea that if you did that. Do you know what? Can you do that with like deer? Is that kind of a similar process? You'd be able to feel the heartbeat?
I would guess so.
Huh. Well, that's really
Anything with the
interesting.
velvet on them, I would say it'd be awful close, about the same aspect.
Well, we've been speaking with Vernon Hoselton from Drayton, North Dakota. Caribou or reindeer? Is it reindeer or caribou? I know you said that there was a difference between the genetics. Which one is it that you have? Was it the caribou?
We have the reindeer.
The reindeer. Okay, the ones out of Russia.
Okay.
Well, he's got a ranch with some reindeer on it. We've been chatting with him for about the last 25 minutes or so. If you got any questions out there, where you can send them over to us at weather or ag@flagfamily.com, we can reach those out to Vern to get them answered. But that's going to conclude our interview here. So, Vern, we want to thank you very much for taking some time out of your day to talk to us all about the reindeer and what it is that you got going on up there in Drayton.
Yeah, thank you much for that. And it's been a nice, interesting venture on things to see the people's faces just for the first time they see them.
Right. Well, if you ever see any reindeer at an event, it's probably a pretty good bet that it maybe came from Vern's ranch. So maybe keep